What's up, Dragon Ball Super players? It's Logan here from Crossworld TCG, and today I'll be featuring my Mecha Veggie deck profile. This deck has seen a little bit of a drop-off in playability with the advent of Set 4, and a lot of people have just stopped, playing this deck altogether. Red-Blue is very strong right now, and there's a lot of cards that support it, and I think the Veggie package has kind of been left in the dust, and so is this Mecha Frieza leader. But I think both still have a ton of potential. So I chose Mecha Frieza because the Veggie package has the tendency to tap out on turn 2 when it wants to make its Kaba play. So by playing the Mecha Frieza leader, it allows us to not tap out completely because we're able to use his ability on the front side to use a negate on their turn, which you'll see more later in the deck. And it allows for a self-awakening tool, so you're not taking negs off of your negates either, they're replacing themselves, so it's really cool. Moving on, of course we have our Veggie package, our 4 Saiyan Teamwork Kaba, 4 Unstoppable Super Saiyan Khalifa, and 4 Hidden Awakening Kale. So these are all of our green Veggie cards. This card, Saiyan Teamwork Kaba, is the heart and soul of the deck. Scry 10, play a Khalifa or add a Kale from deck to hand. It just does everything you want this deck to do. It is fantastic. In previous sets, Kale was very much a focal point of the deck. It's not as much anymore. The green package kind of takes a little bit of a back seat to the red package I'll be showing off in a second. But this green package is still very potent, especially with cards like Shugesh. Kale has the ability to just wipe through boards. Shugeshing into a Kaba allows you to extend your plays even farther, and oftentimes this deck can put out 6 or 7 cards on one turn with 2 energy, so it's pretty crazy. Moving on to the red cards in the deck, I play 4 Bold Super Saiyan 2 Khalifa, 4 Sister Attack Kale, and 4 Dauntless Kale. So these cards are all really great. Dauntless Kale is fantastic right now because all of the aggro decks or most decks are trying to play these free blockers because they're very advantageous in the early game. And if you hit a Khalifa off of your Kaba, which there are 8 of, you can instantly play this card for free. So despite being tapped out for the turn, you can have a blocker on the board and a negate with Mecha Frieza, which is really cool. And Sister Attack Kale, one of the best cards in the deck just because you're going to swing, draw cards. You're going to be able to put a bunch of these on the board every turn. And Bold Super Saiyan 2 Khalifa just to summon them all out. So off of a single Kaba, you can get up to 3 battle cards on the board, which is pretty crazy. And then moving on, I play 4 Trunks Bridge to the Future and 4 Terrascythe Son Goku Black. You'll see why we're playing 4 of this later on in the video, but personally, I think the deck has enough Self-Awakening, so I opted to play a little bit more defensive cards, like this Terrascythe, which is very, very good with Shugesh. And in my previous list that I had featured on this channel, I wasn't even playing Trunks Bridge to the Future, or I might have been, I don't remember, but I didn't like this card that much, simply for the fact that you're discarding your Veggie pieces, and back then, before we had the red cards, that was a big problem, because when your Kabas were missing, it was just the end of the world. But now that Kaba has, I think it's 20 targets to hit off of his Scry 10, you should never miss. Never miss. It's pretty crazy, actually. But this card gets you to that Kaba quicker, so it's worth the reward, and in this aggro-heavy format, having a 1-drop that'll scry your best card in your deck is very, very necessary to get your deck going. You don't have the option to play slower cards, really, like the Broly package, which I do like a lot, but I don't think that I think it's just a little too slow right now. And then for the final 4 green cards, played 4 Full Power Energy. Card's great against the red-blue decks, all those 1-drops that you can just kill. It's another negate. Early game, you pop it, and unlike other decks where you're going to play full power energy to destroy one of their cards, you'll actually go even on that trade where if they're using an auto effect to take a life. So with our leader, this gets a lot more value than it would previously. And I'm playing, I think it was 24 green cards in this deck. Yeah, 24 green cards. And I think that's very necessary because you need 2 greens to hit Kaba effectively. And if by turn 2 you're not playing Kaba, your engine's going way too slow for this format. So it's very necessary to keep, I think, your green count at least 24. And then moving on to the yellow cards that I play, play 2 Spirit Son Goku. This card just pairs very well with Shugesh. You know, pop a rested card. It's always a threat. If your opponent sees it, they are forced to play around it. So it's really good for you. And then moving on, in this list particularly, this might be a very questionable call, and I kind of agree with that. But I decided to play 4 Unwavering Solidarity Shugesh. This deck is very poorly situated with Cronoa coming out, and I think that right now, especially at bigger events, a lot of people are actually cutting Cronoa completely or hedging their bet that people aren't going to play yellow. So I decided to make this list just max greed, punish those people for their poor decisions, and ultimately, if you want, swapping these for the 2 Pure-Hearted Saiyan Son Goku, the yellow super combo promo, is probably a better decision. If you do get Cronoa, it sucks, and it just turns everything off. But, you know, we're playing Maximum Greed this time because we're playing a greedy deck. And finally, for the last yellow cards, it's just 2 Planet Vegeta. I cut down on this card because it was not as useful. Really, I think this is just the last 2 slots in the deck. This could be any 2 other cards. I just decided to go with Planet because it's another way to get to Kaba. If you don't have it turn 2, you just charge a yellow, whether that be, you know, any of your other extra cards or another Vegeta itself, and just search that Kaba out so you at least have a turn 3 play. That's why I kept it. It's literally just, you know, the 6th, 7th, or 5th and 6th copy of Kaba, and then also you can search out Shugesh and most other cards in the deck. And then the last 4 extra cards in the deck, 2 Nimbus, 2 Bloodlust. Your yellow count is pretty low, which is why I opted to only play 4 yellows. And realistically, Bloodlust is really good early game, and Nimbus is really good late game. Preventing setup is really strong, and then Nimbusing them when they go for that all-in push is really strong too. If anything, this number might be swapped around a little bit. I wanted to keep the 4 full power energy and not do a 3-3 split with Nimbus, because I just valued the green energy a little bit more than having the extra Nimbus in my deck. And realistically, if you Nimbus them once and then proceed to go off, you should be in a very advantageous position. And then the last 2 cards in the deck, I played 2 Trunks Overseeing, or Power Overseeing Time. Card is still fantastic. Add back a Shugesh, double strike, you know, he just does what this deck needs it to do. And I think that's a really good way to round out this list, is with just 2 of these guys. So that was it for the Mecha Frieza main deck. I really like this deck. I really like this deck going forward. I think it's a little bit more of a sleeper pick and a meta call on certain days when you're feeling it. Or if you look around the room at locals and see that no one is playing Cronoa, you punish them. I think this deck is really a sleeper pick, and that's because of Cronoa. Otherwise, I think we'd be seeing a lot more of this in Top Cut. I think people are just too scared to play this deck right now. But other than that, I think it's really well situated. There's a lot of stuff you could do. Unfortunately, this version of the deck, because of how big the Veggie package is, you're not really able to play a lot of different engines. Previously, I talked about the Broly engine, and I thought that was a really cool engine you could play in this deck to help finish your opponent off. But realistically, you don't need that much removal. You'll just burn them down with sheer card advantage on the board with all of these new red Veggie cards. I really like them a lot. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room in this deck. I think the most wiggle room that you have is these and these. Like, the deck space is incredibly tight. If you have some other cards that you prefer to play, if you want to play like maybe Bulmas just to get the cycle draw effect, or if for these, if you want to play the Awakening Trunks, or the Awakening Gohan, I'm sorry, then those are also, I think, very good options. But I like Terra Scythe because I'm playing for Shugesh, so that's what I'm going with. And I don't feel bad charging this as energy. And if you actually just hard cast it, it's really great for defense also. It turns this, basically becomes a 2-card 25k defense with Shugesh when you need to hit those high numbers. And I think that it's pretty solid. Other than that, I think you're going to have a great time playing this deck. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this deck list, feel free to take it to locals, tweak it how you like, and make your friends scared of veggies again. And this is Logan from Crossworld TCG, and I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.